Bob, will you tell us what this new goal is?
Well, it wasn't quite that simple. The new goal that reawakened me out of this was, as happens, I met another friend. And this other friend, I gave another type of name to simply because of the fact that I could not, how to put it, I couldn't understand him in any him. It's a he, she again. And I didn't want to use the he, she name, so what I called this new friend was Inspect, short for intelligent species, which meant that I was not an intelligent species. And a very, very deep and warm relationship developed with this non-physical being, and I never saw him in a physical form. He didn't have a form. He was just an energy. And we had, and that went on for a number of years until suddenly, and I must say there's another part to that. And I asked where his home was. And he said, would you like to go on the way to my home? And I will show you. And I said, oh my, yes, please, please. And so he did. And that became my new goal, was to become an Inspect. One of this, because the exquisite, all the things that we express as being idyllic, love, joy, relationships, all these type of melding of unification was expressed when I went and just on the edges of this Inspect's home. It was a beautiful, beautiful goal to be that. And that became my goal, was to grow and be an Inspect. And my plans all shifted to go to that state of being. And this Inspect gave me so many different beautiful things, such as escorting me into the future to see my last time around as being human, this kind of thing. Until one day, one night, one afternoon, I've forgotten exactly when, the Inspect in our particular meeting place, which was outside of time and space, said to me, this is our last meeting. And I uttered a great shock. Why? And the Inspect said to me, because you are taking another path and you need to learn along that other path. And I said, well, will we see each other again? And he says, not in this form. And I said, what have I done? Have I done it? He says, no, you have done nothing wrong. It's that you have gone in another direction, and you have to learn that other direction and get back to basics before you can go any further. And in that, the Inspect winked out like that and was gone. And I went back maybe 25 or 30 times to that meeting place, and the Inspect was never there. He had really disappeared. So that occasioned another depression, but it did trigger my left brain intellect, don't you see? That was the point. It triggered my left brain intellect to say, basics, what's meant by basics? And I started tracking down the basics of what I had missed. Apparently I'd missed something very, very important. And so it's needless to go through all the searching, trying to find what I had missed, the basic. And I went through the humans, and that was a learning procedure. It took a long time to do. Until finally, I came upon this one thing, and that made the change. And that one thing was that many years ago, about perhaps, if we go into time, say in somewhere in the 60s, because of this consciousness, this I, this mind, didn't know what to do with this out-of-body activity, had no idea what to do with it. So what I did is I used a phrase, a term, an idea that we have as humans that we have a total self. I don't like the word soul because it doesn't seem to fit. So I thought, I don't know what to do with this. To keep conducting experiments and going from Virginia to California was ridiculous. And how many times can you go to Mars and to the outer planets? There's just more of the same. And so what I did, I finally said, wait a minute. The basic that I had missed was what I'd been riding this vehicle. In other words, I had been using this navigator and this driver, this vehicle, all these years, and I had not taken the trouble to find out who's doing the driving, or as we in America put, what's under the hood of the thing I'm driving. And so I did. I began saying, that is a basic. And in looking at that basic, I opened a whole new pattern of finding out what that answer was. And that's a long thing, but that in turn did move me in a totally different direction and brought me to the knowledge that anything that I could conceive of now as a goal was inadequate to what the options or the availabilities are after I have graduated as being human. And that is the limitation that I see that humans place upon we, and I was a part of it, probably still am, as a matter of fact. We place upon ourselves by our belief systems. We think that's only certain things that we can do, quote, after we leave here and are non-physical. We forget these other very simple patterns, that these are all based on local ideas, local ways of thinking and doing. Or even what we call intelligence is only a very human system of measurement. And here are all these things, and they suddenly, by this process, opened up to me to discover what the graduate human, the being who graduates from this human system of learning, can be. And that's what I mean by when I say go on the interstate. The goals are so spectacular, so far beyond anything that we can even consider, that they are prime targets for anyone who has curiosity, which I do. Prime targets who of the scientist to get into something where the real action is. You run out of action in time space. There's a limit, but there's no limits in this. In this whole spectrum of consciousness that I say, that's what I'm talking about. How far does it go? I don't know how far it goes, but I do know one thing, that one of the routes that you can go, and that was one of my explorations, because I went and explored all this to see these potentials. One is that one route that you can take, and you can see the source of this, and this is a lot of the humankind. We all have a yearning, and we express it in the desire to go home. We express it in our going outward, in affinity, looking for other intelligent life, looking for things out in the universe, all these kinds of things. But the real part of it is we really want to do this key thing. We're looking for something else. And what we're looking for is the thing that's built into us from the beginning. And that is that, and we express it in our religions, we would like to go meet our Maker. Now, all I can tell you is that at the very least, because this could go on for a long, long time, I know how one could get on the interstate to go meet your Maker. And all I want to do, I have not met that Maker yet, but what I would like to do at some point, and that totality of me, and that's another story, we would like to go and, quote, not prostrate ourselves at the foot of our Maker, but let's say to shake that Maker's hand and say what a magnificent engineer he is, what a beautiful designer he is, she is, he, she, and go get into a new game with the Maker. And that's only one of, and seems endless options that one can take. You can be a maker yourself if you want. What you learn here are the basic tools of being a maker.